Hello everybody, and welcome back to Cells and Diffusion Part 1. This is Lesson 2 now, and we're on body organs. So this is a continuation of the last lesson, which was on the 7 life processes. Just to make sure that you know that, please keep in mind that these lessons play off of each other. So just because you went through one lesson doesn't mean that you can just learn and forget it. Please keep in mind of what you learn because they will come up in later lessons. All right. So that being said, you can pause the video really quick and get started on the do now. All right. So once again, I'm going to make all the annotations in red so that you know exactly what you should be writing in your booklet, whether it's on paper or whether it's on digital. So number 1, define the term nutrition. So this is most of these questions are going to be from lesson 1, just because that's all we've learned so far. And nutrition means to obtain and process food. Okay. Number 2, define the term respiration. Respiration is the release of energy from food. And just as a side note there, respiration, you do need oxygen in order to do that. So don't be confused that respiration does not mean to breathe, even though that's what it's commonly known as. Number 3, define the term sensitivity. Sensitivity is known to be responding to surroundings. Now, if you remember from the last lesson, I used the word stimulus, okay? And stimulus is just another word for your surroundings. It can be some sort of, stimulus can be heat, it can be light, it can be touch, anything to do with the 5 senses, right? And if you have sensitivity, then you're able to respond to those stimulus. So if it's too hot, then you might move away from it, okay? And number 4 asks, why is a teddy bear not a living thing? So you can go really any ways, and the main point is that you use one of the 7 life processes, okay? So I can just hit quite a bit here. So a teddy bear cannot grow, it cannot respire, be sensitive, reproduce, obtain food, or excrete. All right, so I'm pretty sure a teddy bear cannot do any of those things, but even if it could do one of them, it can't do a lot of the other ones. All right. Number 5, state which life process involves or is involved when you pick up then drop a hot plate. Okay, so one of those 7 life processes. This one has to do with sensitivity because you're responding to a surrounding, a stimulus, right? And the surrounding in this case is the hot plate. Number 6, state which life process is being used when a plant is photosynthesizing. So this one is nutrition, okay? And that's just because photosynthesis allows a plant to have that energy, obtain the food that it needs in order to survive, okay? Number 7, state which life process allows you to change your place or position. So this one's pretty quick and easy, is movement. And the last one, state which organ system is different in males and females. This one has to do with what we're going to talk about today, and this one is the reproductive system, right? Different in boys and girls. So make sure you have all the correct answers, and make sure that you're not forgetting some of the simple tools that I taught you last lesson, such as Mrs. Nerg or Mrs. Gren, to remember the 7 life processes, okay? Okay, so that brings us to the main lesson today, which is body organs. All right, so let's just read this paragraph here really quick. It says, the 7 life processes are the things that all living organisms should be able to do at some stage in their lives. Your body organs enable these life processes to take place. Makes sense. For example, your brain and muscle enable you to move. Your kidneys enable you to excrete waste products. It is important that you recognize major body organs and their positions in the body. Take a look at the diagram below. Okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to take a look at this picture right here, okay? And you'll notice it has a lot of the major organs, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide them up, and we'll keep revisiting it throughout the lesson just because the more times that you hear this, all right, the easier it is for you to remember. So let's just go through this because we're going to look more in depth on these specific organs next lesson. But you can kind of tell me what each organ is responsible for. Okay, so let's start with an easy one, the brain. All right, so the brain is part of your nervous system. Okay, and as you know, your brain is quite important to your body. It's kind of like the control center. It coordinates everything that your body does. All right, so the brain is part of your nervous system. The next part, your lungs. Okay, so your lungs are right here, and you have two of them. And so your lungs are part of your respiratory system. Okay, and since it's part of your respiratory system, it's responsible for bringing in oxygen into your body. Okay, so I know that we've said that respiration means to release energy from the food that we eat, and you might remember that I said that oxygen is a very, very important part of that. So lungs are very, very important because if we didn't have lungs, we wouldn't be able to get the oxygen into our blood, right? Which then will take it to all of our different cells in our body that need oxygen in order to undergo respiration. The next part here, moving down, is your heart. Okay, so your heart is slightly to the left. Most people think that your heart is right in the center of your body. It's actually slightly to the left. Okay, so your heart, as you know, is responsible for pumping the blood throughout your body. Okay, and you might hear in the future that your heart acts as a double pump. Okay, you're going to learn more about that in the coming years. But as long as you know that your heart is kind of like that beating machine inside your heart that makes sure that your blood moves from the center of your body to your extremities, like your fingers and your toes and your head. Okay, so that's your heart. And your heart is part of your circulatory system. Now, the word circulatory, all right, comes from that verb circulate. And to circulate means to go everywhere. So your heart is part of that system that's responsible for being sort of a transport system, not only for oxygen, but for the nutrients all around your body. So your circulatory system contains like your veins, your arteries, that goes all the way throughout your body. All right, I'm going to hit 2 the next, or actually I'm going to hit 4 the next time. So your liver, okay, your stomach, and your large intestine, and your small intestine. Okay, these 4 are part of your digestive system. Okay, and you probably already know this, but your digestive system is responsible for digesting, right, or extracting all the nutrients and energy from the food that you eat. Okay, and like I said, you're going to go way more in depth in these organs next lesson, and you're actually going to hit the digestive system quite regularly in science when we go into biology. Okay, so yeah, it's part of your digestive system, and like I said, it's responsible for taking out all the nutrients. So each one of these organs, your liver, your stomach, your intestines, both of them, have a very specific job in digesting and extracting all the nutrients from the food that you eat. All right, and the last one is your kidneys. So we kind of already mentioned, your kidneys are these 2 bean-shaped things right here. Okay. So your kidneys, as we mentioned before, is responsible for allowing you to excrete waste products. All right. So the system that the kidneys are part of is called your urinary system, and it's actually very specific, right? Urinary system has to do with your urine, which is a scientific term for your pee, right? So your kidneys extract all the bad things inside your bloodstream, and it produces urine. Okay, and the kidneys are attached to your bladder, right? And then when your bladder is full, then you have to go to the bathroom. Okay, so those are your kidneys. So that's just to give you a basic overview of 8 very simple organs, some of them that you probably already knew before, all right? But like with all education, as you go more in depth, you learn about different organs more. You look more into like the cells and what the cells are made up of. So if you know this much, that's great. All right. And so if you move down, okay, the first activity that the booklet has you do is making sure that you know which organs are which. Okay. So what I would do right now is take the time to study the diagram above. Okay, with all the words there, cover it up. Okay. And see if you can label each organ in the right place. Okay, so you can pause the video now to do that. Perfect. So just to make sure that you have all the correct ones, you can uncover the diagram from above here, and just make sure that they all line up exactly where they have to go. Okay, this is actually quite important because, as you're probably aware, your assessments have to do with labeling different parts of the body. So make sure that you know what they look like, all right, and kind of where they are. So for instance, you know that if it's asking for this part right here, it can't be, for example, your intestines, because you know that your intestines are lower in your body. All right, so little clues like that will help you help figure out where certain organs are. Okay. All right, so let's work on this next section here. It says building a body, and it reads: body organs don't just function independently. They work as a part of a network of organs in body systems. Okay, that's why these are called organ systems. Right, and in organ systems you have organs. For example, your stomach and your intestines are part of your digestive system. We just learned this. Okay. In the box below, write down the names of any body systems that you already know about and try to identify any body organs that you think might go with that system. Okay, so what I'm going to do actually, because if we're in a lesson, I would actually take the time to hear out some of the different answers and we can go through it together, but I'm going to just use the ones down here. Okay, so there are 6 organ systems, all right, and the names are all here actually. So whether or not you know some of these, I'm going to go through these 6 right here and give you some basic organs that are in each organ system. Okay, so let's write down each one. All right, so we have the circulatory, we have, I'm going to just make sure I don't go overboard here. We have the skeletal, muscular, nervous, respiratory, and digestive. Okay, so 6 organ systems, and what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that each one we list out the major organs, okay, in each of these systems. So let's take the first one, the circulatory system. So this one I mentioned before, the circulatory system, the main organ in that system would be your heart. Okay. And some of the other ones that are in your circulatory system would be things like your arteries and veins. Okay. So, like I said before, the circulatory system is responsible for circulating substances around your body, such as the nutrients and the oxygen and the waste. Okay. So think of the circulatory system as sort of a transport system. Okay. Transport. You can put that on the side here. All right. Skeletal. So now there's tons of organs in the skeletal system, 206 if I want to be exact, I think. But your skeletal system has a lot of different things in it. Okay, so let's name some major. We call them organs, but you might better know them as bones. Okay, so let's say the bone that makes sure that your brain is safe would be your skull, right? And see if you can guess this next one. The bone or the organ, the bone structure that protects your lungs and your heart is called your rib cage, okay, or your ribs. So yeah, there's lots of different ones that you can use. Let's say your femur, right, your spine, and there's a ton of different organs in your skeletal system. Okay, and we are going to get into the skeletal system later on in this booklet, all right? But as you can tell, the skeletal system has one of the major functions is to protect most of your organs. Okay, so I'm just going to put the 2 big ones is protect and movement. Let's just put protect and move. Okay, because actually, without your skeletal system, your muscular system wouldn't be able to do a lot by itself. Okay, and that brings us to some of the other muscles in your body. So if you think about certain muscles in your body, you might know the scientific names, you might know kind of the common names for them, but let me just give you a few. So see if you recognize these ones. Okay, your biceps and your triceps. Okay, your biceps and your triceps are 2 muscles. They're called antagonistic muscles, and you're going to learn about this in later lessons. But they're 2 muscles that work together in order to move your arm. So these 2 muscles are actually located in your upper arm. So between your elbow and your shoulder, you have 2 muscles that are kind of opposite of each other. And what they do is one will contract while the other relaxes in order to move your lower arm. Okay, and so you have lots of different muscles. You have pectorals, that's your chest muscles. I mean, I get your quadriceps and hamstrings. Those are your leg muscles above the knee. Okay, or sorry, I should say between the knee and the hips. Okay, so again, you can put down any muscle organs that you know that are in the muscular system, and the muscular system is primarily responsible for movement. Okay, it doesn't really protect anything, but more than anything. But yeah, your muscular system is very responsible for your movement. Okay. All right, let's go to the nervous system. Not a lot that I can say about the nervous system other than let's go with the simple one. So your nervous system contains your brain. All right. It also connects your brain, or sorry, your brain is connected by nerves. Okay. So I'm just going to put the two there. And the nervous system is responsible for helping you respond and send electrical impulses throughout your body. All right. So whenever you want to do something, let's say get up out of your chair and walk, your brain has to send those commands to the muscles in your body. All right. And then your muscles will respond back saying, yes, I'll do that. And that's how you get up and actually do something. All right. Now it's a little bit more complicated than that because obviously your brain is a very, very complicated organ, and we actually don't understand fully what our brain is capable of. But we do know that your brain is responsible for coordinating all the different movements in your body, how you feel, what you think about, things like that. Okay. So we're going to call this control center. How's that? Okay. So it controls everything in your body. All right. I'm just going to leave that the way it is. All right, respiratory system. So you're going to hear this one a lot, but some of the one major organ in your respiratory system will be your lungs. Okay. The part that connects your mouth and your nose to your lungs is called your windpipe. Okay. Also known as your trachea. Right. So both of these are the same name for the same organ. Okay, and it's that pipe that leads from your mouth and your nose into your lungs. So you actually have two pipes in your throat, one that leads to your lungs and one that leads to your stomach. And your body is very good at differentiating what should be going down which pipe, although it's not perfect. So sometimes you might drink some water or eat something and it goes down the wrong tube. Okay, your lungs aren't very good at processing physical things inside there. So it'll cough to try and get it out of your lungs. Okay. So your respiratory system is responsible again for distributing oxygen to the cells in your body. All right. So when you breathe in, you're taking in all that oxygen, and you have inside your lungs you have these things called alveoli or air sacs that are aligned with veins and arteries. Okay. And so these will actually allow oxygen to get into your bloodstream and carbon dioxide to get out of your bloodstream. All right. So your lungs are like really, really important. All right. So we're going to call this, let's say, oxygen intake and carbon dioxide out. All right. And that brings us to our last one, our digestive system, which probably has the most number of unique organs in any organ system, but so far that you know of. So let's list off some of the major ones. So first one, I'm just actually going to go in order. As soon as you eat food, okay, it enters your mouth, and it enters what's called your gullet, all right, or your esophagus. And so again, same thing with windpipe and trachea. Your gullet and esophagus are the same name. One is a scientific term. Okay, and after it passes your gullet or your esophagus, then it gets into your stomach. After your stomach, it enters your small intestine, then your large intestine, and then out your body. But there's actually a lot more in your digestive system than you think there is, because it's not just these four organs. There's actually your liver, your pancreas, your pancreas, your gallbladder. Okay, these are all things that actually are responsible for doing different things inside your body that help digest your food. Okay, so for instance, without your pancreas or your liver, you'd actually have a really, really hard time digesting food that are in your body. Okay? Right, so if we have nothing else, we're going to scroll down here and you'll notice that the 6 organ systems are kind of, excuse me, the 6 organs have a box beneath them. And so what you're supposed to do is to label each system, okay, with different with the different systems that they're supposed to be labeled with. So use this as a guide, okay, and you can pause the video to see if you can write down the correct answers here, okay? Right, so hopefully you were able to look at the different diagrams and see major organs that will help you identify which system you're looking at, okay? So I'm just going to put it in the boxes below, okay? So this one here, you can see there's basically the bones, right, or a skeleton, and that should be a dead giveaway that this is your skeletal system. Okay, I'm just going to skeletal, and I'm going to see if I can change that. There we go. Okay. The next part here is part of your lungs, okay? So you can see the lungs, you can see the trachea, which is that blue tube, all right? So this is your respiratory, okay? Respiratory. And I'm going to see if I can just change this to red. Okay, here we go. All right, this next one here is a picture of all the muscles inside your body. All right, so muscles have to do with your muscular system. Okay, perfect. I'm going to do these first and I'll change it to red. The next one here, so this organ right here, if you didn't notice it, is your heart. And all these blue and red signify your arteries and your veins. Okay, so this is your circulatory. Okay, circulatory. Oops, sorry there. All right. This one here, you can see your intestines there. You can see the esophagus. You can see the stomach, the liver. The pancreas is actually hidden right behind there. And these words should be able to tell you that this is your digestive system. All right. And the last one, kind of a giveaway because there's no other ones. And by process of elimination, that means that this is your nervous system. And you know because that's all your nerves in your body, and there's your brain. Okay. So there you have it. 6 different organ systems, all with different organs inside them. All right. So please make sure that you understand, or you know for now, what different major organs are in different organ systems. Okay. And you can practice on this one by pausing the video right now and doing that. But I'm just going to go along and finish off the lesson here because it says, when you put all the organ systems together, they enable all 7 life processes to take place. We say that we have a living organism, right? And it's derived from the French organisme, meaning to organize. French is not my main subject, so don't worry about that. But yeah, so you have all the 6 different organ systems. Make sure you can figure out these 6 right here just by looking at them. And for now, what I want you to do is get started on the knowledge check questions. Okay, there are just 8 of them. Okay, so you can pause the video right now and get started on that. Perfect. Okay, so let's get started here. And again, anything in red you should have in your booklets. All right, number 1, name the 7 life processes. So make sure that you understand or remember the tool that I gave you in the last video, which is Mrs. Nerg, okay, or Mrs. Gren, whichever one that you want to use. And all these letters represent different life processes, which is movement, respiration for one of the R's, sensitivity, nutrition, excretion, reproduction, and growth. Okay. Number 2, state which organs enable movement. So be careful because this says organs, not organ systems, all right? So if you put muscles and bones, okay, or a skeleton, I would probably give you 2 points for that because that very clearly defines that your muscular system and your skeletal system are both responsible for movement. All right, number 2, state organs that enable sensitivity. So sensitivity means to respond to surroundings, right? So the first thing that you need to have is the actual nerves, okay, to accept the stimulus, right? Because if you didn't have nerves in your body and your hand was in a fire, your brain would actually not be able to consider the fact that your hand is burning. So nerves are actually a very good way for us to survive because it tells us what is happening around us. All right, and that being said, your brain is the other part of that system, right? Because even though you have nerves, you need something to tell you what to do. So your brain is responsible for that. Okay, that's pretty much it for sensitivity there. Number 4, state organs that enable 4 organs that enable nutrition. So you can list any 4, but the 4 major ones that you just learned about today are the stomach, liver, large intestine, and small intestine. Okay. Number 5, state which body system enable respiration. So this is why it should be easy for you to remember that respiration goes with the respiratory system. Okay. So I think they did that on purpose just to make things a lot easier. Number 6, state the name given to living things with all their organ systems. So going back to the last little paragraph that we read, so an organism, okay, is what we call a living thing, all right, with all their organ systems. Okay, number 7, what organs are included in the nervous system? So you can put your brain, your nerves, all right, and I've had students in the past put spinal column, all right, because you do have a long spine that's connected together with cartilage, but also with nerves. At the end of the day, it's still nerves. So even if you have these 2, I would probably give you full points for that. Okay, even though the question is worth out of 3 points. All right. And the last one is label these organs. So same diagram from above. All right. These are going to be the 8 organs that we just learned about today. So if I just go here, this is your brain. Oops. All right. This next one here is going to be your lungs. I'm going to move over here. Right in the center of your chest, but not actually because it's slightly to your left, is your heart. Next one down, the one that's not this one, all right? This one is your liver, okay? It's actually much larger than your stomach. And this is your stomach. All right, the 2 bean-shaped organs that you have in your body that are connected to your bladder, these are your kidneys, okay? And the last 2 is your intestines, but which one's which? So this is your small intestines, okay? And this one is your large intestine, okay? And you might be wondering, well, how do I know? Like, what's the difference between the 2? The difference is actually in the size of the intestines. So your large intestines are actually quite large. They're very, I guess you would say the diameter is very wide. Okay, so it allows for a wider passage of the food to get through your body. Your small intestines are quite long, but they're actually quite thin. Okay, so it can only get through a little bit at a time, but like I said before, your large and small intestines are responsible for different things. One being that one of them absorbs the food and the other one absorbs water out of your food, the food that you eat. So that being said, we have these intestines for very specific reasons. Okay, and they have very specific jobs. So don't worry about the logistics of it, but as long as you know which ones are the large ones and which one is the small one. Okay, that's all you need to know at this point. Okay, and at the very bottom here, okay, is a cognitive activity that kind of brings in the next lesson, and that is that there's a hierarchical system involving organs, organisms, body systems arranged according to size and complexity, and try to put these in order based on criteria. So you'll learn in the next lesson here that your body is actually made up of a lot of different things, right? So the very, very basic building blocks of life are called cells, right? All basic living organisms are made out of cells. And when you have a bunch of cells together, right, this actually creates tissue, right? And it's not the tissue that you use to blow your nose. It's actually tissues that are made out of a bunch of cells, like many, many, many cells. And typically, you have to have the same cells in order to create a tissue, right? You can't have heart cells and your lung cells and your intestinal cells make up one kind of tissue because all three of those cells have very different jobs, okay? So when you have a bunch of tissues together, then you actually make an organ, okay? And your organ, right, is responsible for a specific job. So the best way I can explain this is, for example, your heart cannot digest food. All right, that's just a simple fact of life. That's your heart is responsible for something else. That being said, right, your heart and your stomach are actually made up of different cells, right? Not too different actually, because they're both muscles, but they are actually made up of different cells. So that being said, the next level up would be all these different organs. And if you have a bunch of different organs working together for a specific job, then you have an organ system. Okay? Like all the systems that we learned before, right? Let's take the digestive system for example. Your digestive system comprises of your intestines, your stomach, your pancreas, your liver, your esophagus, and each one of those organs are very different, right? They all have a different job, but the purpose of all of them is the same. That's what an organ system does, right? It does a specific purpose, but all the organs inside of it do different things for it. Okay? All right. And then when you have all these different organ systems together, then you have an organism. Okay? So an organism can be like a fox or a dog or a fish or a bird, right? All of these living things are organisms. Okay? And every single one of those has organ systems, and they have organs and tissues and cells. Okay? So that's what a hierarchy is. A hierarchy is kind of like a system of order. Okay? In this sense, right, this hierarchy is basically from smallest all the way to the biggest. Okay? And that's it, because we're going to go into this next lesson. So I'm going to leave it at that, and that's it for lesson 2. Thanks for watching.